Yo, what is up, Fish TF2ers? Welcome back to another presentation. This is a proposal regarding Team Fortress 2 by me, Fish. So, a relatively big update is coming. The MVM update has been delayed, most likely because of scope creep. We know that the MVM update is coming. We know that people in Valve are working on it. And we also know that people in Valve are also working on a lot of other stuff simultaneously. There's a lot of work going into Deadlock. There's a lot of work going into HLX. There's a lot of work on the hardware side of things. And of course, there's always work on Steam. So Valve is pretty stretched thin right now, which is one reason why the MVM update has been delayed. But the other reason is because many of the community maps that have been submitted are pretty wild. They require all sorts of, I don't know how it works, VScript stuff or whatever, new gameplay features that need to be implemented and tested and stuff like that. It's a big update. At this point, the fact that it's been delayed so much points to the fact that it might be a pretty big update. So, let's talk about bring back quick play real quick, okay? Now listen, it's a good idea. I don't want to get cancelled by Reddit for saying that bring back quick play is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I think that quick play, many aspects of the quick play rule set, and there are many problems with the current casual match coordinator. You know, this is a good movement. I agree with it. It's a good idea. I think we should maybe not bring back quick play exactly as it was, but something similar, taking ideas from both quick play and casual and making a bit, I think it's a good idea. However, in my personal opinion, the order of problems with TF2 goes in this. I have ordered it from most important to least important. But these are all big problems. Okay, all four of these are significant problems with the game that need to be fixed. Okay, I don't mean to dismiss bring back quick play, but in my opinion, weapon balance is the number one issue with TF2. When I play TF2 day to day, what am I getting mad about? Sure, I get mad about getting put into a game that just ended or getting auto-balanced at the end of a match. That stuff definitely, that ruins my experience certain times. But if I were to say what's the most common gripe I have with the game, it's when I'm trying to play a game and the enemy medic equips the vaccinator and it's like, oh, you're just not allowed to have fun today. When I get to last and there's 3 engineers wrangling their level 3s, it's like, okay, there's nothing you can do. Sorry, I clicked the you're not allowed to have fun button. That's the biggest issue with the game to me. And moreover, the overpowered weapons create balance issues where one team simply can't win if another team decides to use the overpowered broken weapons that are in the game. That's the most common pain point I have, even if it's just something small. Like, I'm walking around, oh, the scorch shot, I get stunned. That's annoying. It's just annoying, and it's a constant little annoyance, right? To me, this is the most common gripe I have with TF2. It's not whatever. The other biggest problem I would say is the new player experience. There is no tutorialization. Some of the classes have tutorials that they're not very good. A whole bunch of classes don't even have tutorials. There's no one teaches you rocket jumping, super basic mechanics that are in the game that are very important. The new player experience is just fucking horrible, and this is what's ultimately going to kill the game because it's impossible to onboard new players since it's one of the most. We have the advantage of TF2's been out since 2007. Everyone's played it, but there's increasing numbers of Gen Alphas and Zoomers who weren't even alive when TF2 came out or whatever. And at some point, where those guys have to jump on the game if it's not going to die, right? And so we need much better new player onboarding experience. And then I would say the next biggest issues are the match coordinator and the casual rule set. Okay, now all of these are big issues, but I'm going to talk today about weapon balance. So The thing is about weapon balance, there's a lot of videos you can find of big TF2 YouTubers going through every single weapon in the game and making changes to make every single weapon more fun and like make sure the Thompson is buffed so it's actually usable and all sorts of things like this. This is not what this video is, okay? This video is not my like going through the game and making it how I personally want it to be. No, these are just 5 weapons that are obviously broken, that everyone already agrees are unfun to play against and ruin somehow the integrity of the game or the core fun parts of the game. 5 weapons that everyone already agrees are broken, and 5 no-brainer fixes that are just obvious and they will not ruin the game for anyone, and they just make the game more fun. You know, if I were giving my opinion on how weapon balance should be throughout the whole game, it would be much more extreme. But no, I'm picking only the things that I'm pretty sure everyone already agrees on. And those are the Wrangler, Jurati, Short Circuit, Scorched Shot, and Vaccinator. I think that pretty much everyone who plays TF2 agrees that there is something unfun against fighting players who are using these strategies. So I'm going to go through one by one and just introduce the easy, simple fixes for each of these weapons that will nerf them and make them more fun to play against, okay? So number 1, the Wrangler. Pretty much the major issue with the Wrangler is the shield is too strong. It blocks 66% of damage. It should be reduced to 45% of damage. That still increases its resistance. It still requires more stickies or rockets or whatever to destroy it, but it's not as absurd as it currently is. You would also, if you don't know, the way the Wrangler works is while the Sentry is wrangled, not only does it take 66% less damage, but the supposed downside is that it also takes 66% less healing when the Engineer goes to repair the Sentry. The problem is that because it's taking 66% less damage, that actually evens out and doesn't really make any difference. So the other issue with the Wrangler is the shield just stays. So when you kill the Engineer, or if the Engineer puts the Wrangler away, the Sentry gets deactivated for a short period of time. But the shield still stays active during that period of time, and that seems like a bug to me, or it just seems very silly, because it's like, what's the point of deactivating the Sentry if you still can't take it down? This feels like something that was intended to be a balance to the Wrangler, where, oh, the downside is that when you put it away or the Engineer dies, the Sentry is deactivated, and so it's easy for the enemy to take down, right? It's like a punishment for just whipping out the Wrangler whenever you're in danger, because whenever you put it away, the Sentry is going to be vulnerable. But that doesn't work if the shield is still there when the Sentry is deactivated. So the instant the Engineer puts the Wrangler away, the Sentry becomes deactivated for a short period of time, but the shield should instantly deactivate as well. There should be no shield while the Sentry is deactivated, giving the enemy team an opportunity to take the Sentry down or push or whatever. So here's my maybe more extreme. So I think that those things, reducing the shield strength and getting rid of the shield while the Sentry is deactivated, are obvious no-brainers. But I am going to include something maybe a little more experimental, a little more extreme. You'd have to play test this if the changes I proposed aren't strong enough. So the point of the Wrangler, like the ethos behind the design of the Wrangler, is that you're supposed to target the Engineer rather than the Sentry, right? Like that's the intended gameplay, is that, oh, it's like a thing where you have to take down the Engineer first and then you can take down the Sentry. Of course, the problem is with the shield, the Engineer can easily just crouch behind the Sentry and then it's basically impossible, right? So possible gameplay change would be to mark the Engineer for death while they're using the Wrangler, which would make it easier to take them down. It would also make it more obvious what you're supposed to do if you're not like a super experienced player who knows to target the Engineer if they're wrangling. Then the fact that the Engineer is going to have a big marked for death sign on top of them is going to help newer players to understand what they're supposed to do, and also make it easier for them to take the Engineer down. So I personally think that's a good idea, but I'd be interested to hear your ideas in the comments. Next, so that's the most complex weapon. The rest of the fixes are pretty simple. So Jurati is too spammable. That's the problem. So it needs to, rather than just being constantly a bar that just refills automatically, instead it should build with damage like a soldier banner or something. And you shouldn't get it immediately off spawn, right? So you don't have it. You have to build it over time with damage, and then you get a free Jurati throw. And if that's still too overpowered, then make the splash damage, the splash area, the radius, smaller. Because right now the Jurati is in a state where the sniper just has the opportunity to give their team free mini crits for nothing constantly with a really, really fast refresh on the item. And it's not really skillful. You know, you don't really have to aim the Jurati or anything like that because the radius is so large. I just think that for such a... The risk reward doesn't really work out here. You know, it's such a powerful ability to give your entire team mini crit damage. That's such a powerful reward that just sitting back and throwing a Jurati from a distance is such a small risk for such a high reward. It just doesn't really make sense in the game, in my opinion. And so, yeah, I think that there should be higher risk, and that risk should be you have to put yourself in a position where you're actually fighting and doing damage in order to build Jurati, and that's like a reward for playing sniper well. That seems like a reasonable thing to me. So the short circuit, most people think the biggest issue with the short circuit is that it can get metal from the payload cart in payload mode on offense, and you can sort of sit on top of the cart spamming short circuit balls and defend your entire team from projectiles very, very easily. And I agree, that is an overpowered strategy that needs to be removed from the game. I actually wonder how easy that would be to do, because as far as I understand it, I'm not a programmer, but as I understand it, the game just treats the payload cart like a level 1 dispenser. I don't know that there are, I might be wrong, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any other items which have specific interactions with the payload cart, but not with any other dispensers in the game. So I actually am not sure that this would be easy to program. I think this might be a really difficult thing to program to remove that. So you might end up with a simpler fix, but then that might be a little too harsh of a nerf. But the simpler fix would be to just remove the short circuit's ability to gain metal from dispensers, full stop. That might be too overpowered. If you have the short circuit equipped, you cannot gain metal from any dispenser. That might be a little too much. So honestly, I know everyone agrees that you should not be able to spam the short circuit on the payload cart, but I actually am kind of scared that it might be too difficult to implement, and they might end up implementing something more radical, which nerfs it too hard. Now, I might not be that upset if it got nerfed that hard, because I think it's a poorly designed weapon that probably shouldn't be in the game in the first place. But it's risky. But you'd have to be more careful with your programming and make it so it genuinely only prevents it from being able to gain metal from the cart. My second proposal is perhaps a little more extreme. It's maybe even the most radical proposal in this list, because it does change fundamentally how the weapon works, which is the problem for me with the short circuit is, it's no risk for such a high reward. And what I mean by that is it doesn't require any real skill to just sit there and press mouse 2 and shoot out a big ball that you don't really have to aim. So I think the change should be to reduce the size of the ball significantly by 50% or more, but then increase its speed. And so the idea would be that you actually have to skillfully shoot projectiles out of the air. Like, I think right now, if I'm playing Soldier or Demo or whatever, and I'm going against an engineer, and they pull out their short circuit, it just kind of feels cheap. It feels like, okay, there's nothing I can do. I just lose this interaction, or I can't really hit his sentry because he's turtling behind with a dispenser with infinite metal to just shoot my things out of the air, or I can't put stickies down. Like, it's just like, oh, you're not sorry. I picked the no fun allowed option. I picked the easy win option, and then you don't get to play the game. That feels kind of miserable, right? Like, okay, time to, you must change classes to a non-explosive class if you want to have fun now. And it's like, well, I wanted to play in it. That's kind of stupid, right? I can imagine a scenario where if I'm playing Soldier and I want to shoot an engineer, but they're like actually skillfully picking my rockets out of the air with their own projectile, basically having to hit air shots on rockets with a relatively small projectile, I would be like, you know what? Fair enough. You actually you know what? That was sick. And it's the sort of thing that Engineer doesn't have. Engineer doesn't have anything sick. Like, you have sentry jumps and that's about it, right? Like, this would be the sort of thing you could put in a montage, right? If you skillfully shot projectiles out of the air, which is genuinely difficult to do, and then went on to shoot the guy, like, that would be genuinely a hype moment for an engineer that would require a lot of skill and practice to get good at, and it would be sick. And like, imagine that, you know? Unfortunately, instead, what do we have? We have a weapon where you just, a big ball of energy that takes no skill and no aiming, just protects you. Like, why would you decrease the amount of skill, the skill ceiling in the game? It just seems silly to me. And get rid of the primary fire. Also, I should have added that to the damn presentation. There's no reason, the primary fire serves no purpose. So that's what I think. I think it should be a skill check. I think the weapon should be redesigned to be a skill check where the engineer has to shoot projectiles out of the air with a other fast-moving projectile. Again, this is a pretty radical change. Perhaps you disagree, but I think everyone can agree on the first point, that maybe the first 2 points. The projectile should be reduced in size, and you shouldn't be able to gain metal from the payload card. The Scorch Shot. So this is a pretty simple change. You should remove the stun mechanic. No one likes stun mechanics in games. I actually think the Scorch Shot. I think the Scorch Shot is like annoying, right? But it's actually not as powerful as the Detonator. The Detonator is probably Pyro's best secondary. The Detonator is better than the Scorch Shot if you learn to use it properly, because you can shoot around corners. You don't have to rely on hitting a wall to shoot around corners or deal splash damage. And secondly, it gives you movement options that the Scorch Shot doesn't give you. So I actually don't think the Scorch Shot is that overpowered. It's just annoying to get stunned. So that's all I think should happen, is the stun should be removed. I think everyone agrees on this. The Vaccinator is also a very simple change. It builds too fast. It's way too spammable. Increase the build time significantly. I say like double it, at least. Double the amount of time it takes to build Vaccinator Ubercharge. So, Valve is making big changes to the game. This is the time, if you want something, now is the time to ask for it. Because they are working on the game, they're making internal changes. These are no-brainer fixes. Perhaps some people might think my short circuit proposals are too extreme or something. But generally speaking, I tried to make a separation between what I think is like a no-brainer balance change versus what I think is a actual weapon design change that's perhaps a bit more radical. Hopefully I made some of that a little more clear. But, many of these nerfs are no-brainers, right? And even if you don't do it exactly like I said to do it, right? Like, just nerfing the fuck out of some of these weapons, it's a no-brainer. It's just an instantly make the game better button. It's free. It's free. Everyone will, the TF2 community, just nerfing one of these weapons, just reducing the Wrangler shield from 66% to 45%, just doing one of these changes, the TF2 community would fucking love you, Valve. You'd get great publicity. Everyone at Valve would be so happy to see the TF2 community going like, wow, they did it. They actually fixed the weapon after Jungle Inferno. It's been 10 years, but they actually made a balance change and it was good. It's a no-brainer win for Valve. It's a free win. And the thing is, as TF2 players, we don't have to live like this, right? It seems like there's become a sense of learned helplessness where, we've accepted that Valve is just never going to touch the balance of the game again, which is just ridiculous. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they touch the balance of the game again? If there's obvious changes that can be made and Valve is in the process of making big changes to the game, we don't have to live like this. We don't have to just accept the situation we're in and try and make little campaigns on the corners. Like, hey, putty please make it so that we don't have bots in every game instantly headshotting us across the map. Putty please make the matchmaker actually work. Just these little changes around it. No, we can genuinely demand fixes to the core problems of the game and Valve will oblige, at least partially. Like, why implement one of these changes and the game is better instantly, right? So, everyone dislikes unbalanced matches. And the general sentiment in the community seems to be that the unbalanced matches, steamrolls, are the fault of the game coordinator. And that's true to an extent. But ultimately, broken, unbalanced weapons make this significantly worse, right? They make the problem significantly worse because, sometimes there's going to be differences in skill of players on different teams and there's just nothing you can do to overcome that, and it is what it is, right? But a highly skilled player on the enemy team playing Trollger is not going to cause a roll, right? If a highly skilled player on the enemy team is a really good engineer who knows exactly how to abuse the Wrangler and the Rescue Ranger, really, really well, then that's going to cause problems. You know what I mean? It's the fact that there are these broken weapons in the game which really accentuates the problems in terms of balance. And so fixing these weapons would also have the knock-on effect, besides just making the game more fun in general, it would have the knock-on effect of improving the average balance of matches so you wouldn't get into so many steamrolls. And to me, this is the most significant problem in the game. I said this at the beginning, but I do want to reiterate it, okay? It's not to say that the other problems don't exist. As I said, I support hashtag bring back quick play or whatever the fuck, right? For the most part, right? There are some issues, but for the most part, broadly speaking, I think it's a well-intentioned and it's a good idea. There are serious problems with the game coordinator and the casual rule set, which are two different things, and I think that there should be more emphasis on how those are two different things. And both have serious issues, and they both need attention. I fully agree with that. However, I think that we shouldn't entirely focus on what I see as like a secondary knock-on problem of the central fact that the game is fundamentally poorly balanced. And, there are actually even deeper balance issues with the game in terms of, for example, the position of Pyro in the game is kind of all over the place. The role of Sniper existing is a bit silly. There are all sorts of issues, and I'll talk about that in a second, that are fundamental, but starting to attack those issues, I think, would really instantly improve the game really quickly for everyone. And I don't think we have to just stick to these tertiary edge cases around the game coordinator not being able to load into PLR pipeline or whatever the fuck, right? Which was an issue for 5 people. And it's not like that's not an issue. That is an issue that needs fixing, right? Like, I like to play pipeline from time to time also. And there's also the map bloat. I probably should have mentioned that, right? Like, TF2 is absurdly fucking bloated and it needs to be trimmed the fuck down. Like, there were some plenty of issues, but as I said, to me, the most annoying thing that happens in TF2 is when I load into a game, I'm like, I want to play Demo Man, and the enemy medic is using the vaccinator perma on the explosive setting, and it's like, okay, you don't get to do any damage this game, just requeue. That's the most annoying thing. So as I said, there are some secondary issues. I didn't list all of them here. I should have listed more. Like the map bloat and general bloat of the game is getting to an absurd degree, and it's only going to get worse. The fact that air blasted players can't air strafe is silly. They should put that in the game. That gas passer in MVM is overpowered. I actually think, this is my true copium, I think that we're going to get a gas passer nerf in the MVM update. I actually think they're going to do it. I think they're going to do it. And that's why I'm making this presentation and these propositions, because I think they're about to make a balance change to the game. Even if it's MVM, I do think they're going to make that balance change. And I think that if they're making balance changes in one game mode, why can't they make balance changes in the actual real game? There's also the issue of cooperative engineering being overpowered. I might make a whole video about this because it's such a big problem. But, if you're losing, you can just pick engineer on the class selection screen, and it's like if you have more than 2 engineers, it's basically impossible to push any last, right? Pretty much every last in the game you don't really stand a chance against like 3 engineers, 4 engineers, especially if they're using the Wrangler and the short circuit and they're cooperative engineering with each other, so repairing each other's buildings and so on. Engineer has become so overpowered over the years, and this is a hot take. Most people don't consider engineer overpowered, okay? But that's because most people don't understand TF2 like I, the true TF2 genius, understand TF2. It is a serious problem that needs addressing. They're never going to address it, though. It's too complex, so this is just for fun. Anyway, I think that this could be a genuine movement. If someone put together a poster that summarized the points I made in this video with just like the 5 weapons that need to be nerfed and details on how to nerf them, if someone made like a big poster like the one that exists for Bring Back Quick Play, I'm sure you've seen, with like a nice SFM render, I think this would spread on Reddit. I think everyone would love it. And I think it's a good idea. It's just genuine. It's just like, am I wrong? If I'm wrong, tell me. But I'm pretty sure everyone agrees with the things I'm saying, right? I'm pretty sure these are no-brainer fixes. Anyway, this is my time to thank you for watching, which I do genuinely thank you for watching. And I'm going to ask you as a YouTuber to subscribe, and I will tell you why you should subscribe, because I have said that when this channel hits 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to make a 12-hour long video about CP_Dust Bowl. Much like Casual TF2's 12-hour long video about Badwater. I keep saying this, that when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do this. I don't know why I say this, because that sounds fucking miserable to me. I don't want to make that video. So if you want to punish me and force me to get away from my main job and spend all my time making a Dust Bowl video. I don't even like it. When I came up with this idea of like, 1,000 subscribers, 12-hour Dust Bowl video, I was like playing a lot of Dust Bowl at the time. But now I kind of like hate Dust Bowl. I don't hate Dust Bowl, okay? It's like fine. But I don't know, whatever. That might be a fun video in its own. If you want to see me shit on it. But actually, I have like mixed opinions of Dust Bowl. And you know what? I'm going to save them for the 12-hour video. So if you want to see that, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you for watching.